text messages I sent. If there's something above, then just hit it. Slow down for a while.
Still was written during an unusually extended period, from February 24th to September 26th, 1930. And Genesis goes back to at least 1927. When Lovecraft first visited Vermont, captivated by the unspoiled beauty of the state, recent, rich, special, hills, and unbelievable. Lovecraft wrote an eloquent essay, quotes Vermont after first impression. Quotes. Whole passages of which have been incorporated into the story. The setting of Henry Acaday's farmhouse is a melding of the residences of his friends for West Port and Arthur Good enough. Lovecraft has definitely concluded the discovery of the plant bloom to this. This discovery was announced a month after he began writing his tale, which was first published in Weird Tales, August 1931. The rural Adam Bear in mind, closely, I did not see any actual bit of horror again. To say that a mental shock was the cause of what I occurred, that last straw which sent me racing out of the lonely academic farmhouse and put up the wild vulnerability of the mob. The commandeered order at night is to ignore the plainest facts of my final experience. Notwithstanding the deep extent to which I shared information and speculation of Henry Academy, the things I saw and heard, and the admitted vividness of the impression produced on me by these things. I cannot prove even now whether I was right or wrong in my hazy inference, for after all, Acade's disappearance establishes nothing. People found nothing amiss in his house despite the wood marks on the outside he had. There was not even a sign that gas had been there, or that those horrible cylinders and machines had been stored instead. And he had mortally feared of the crowded greenhills and endless jiggle of brooks among which he had been born and reared. There's nothing at all either. The thousands are subject to just such morbid fears. Eccentricity, moreover, could easily account for strange acts and apprehensions for the last. The whole matter began, so far as I am concerned, with the historic and unprecedented Vermont floods of November 3rd, 1927, and the structure of literature at Miskatonic University in Arkham, Massachusetts, and an enthusiastic amateur student of New England folklore. Shortly after the flood, amidst the very reports of hardship, suffering, and organized relief which filled the press, there appeared certain odd stories of things found floating in some of the swollen rivers, so that many of my friends embarked on curious discussions and appealed to me to shed what light I could on the subject. I felt flattered at having my folklore study taken so seriously, and did what I could to belittle the wild and vague tales, which seemed so clearly an outgrowth of old rustic superstition. It amused me to find several persons of education who insisted that some stratum of obscure, distorted fact might underlie the rumors. The tales thus brought to my notice came mostly from newspaper cuttings, though one yarn had an oral source and was repeated to a friend of mine in a letter from his mother in Hardwick. The type of thing described was essentially the same in all cases, though there seemed to be three separate instances of all that. One connected with the Winooski River near Montpelier, another attached to the West River in Windham County beyond Newfane, and a third centering in Passumsic in Caledonia County above Lindenwood. Of course, many of the stray items mentioned other instances, but on analysis, they all seem to boil down to these three. In each case, country folk reported seeing one or more very bizarre and disturbing objects in the surging waters, poured down from the unfrequented hills, and there was a widespread tendency to connect these sites with a primitive, half-forgotten cycle of whispering legend to show people there was ready for the vacation.
Moving right here. Move to this one. So that one, I think. Put the cloak back on. This will make it. Remember about these things.
People thought they saw organic shapes not quite like any they had ever seen before. Naturally, there were many human Bodais watched along with streams in that tragic period. Those who described these strange shapes felt quite sure. People thought they saw organic shapes not quite like any they had ever seen before. Naturally, there were many human Bodais washed along by the streams in that tragic period. But those who described these strange shapes felt quite sure that they were not human, despite some superficial resemblances in size and general outline. Or said the witnesses could they have been any kind of animal known to Vermont. This is The Whisper in Darkness, page 669, H.P. Lovecraft. Complete fiction. Or said the witnesses, could they have been any kind of animal known to Vermont? They were pinkish things about 5 feet long, with crustaceous Bodais, bearing vast pairs of dorsal fins of membranous wings, with several sets of articulated limbs and with a sort of convoluted ellipsoid, covered multitudes of very short antennae, where a head would ordinarily be. It's really remarkable how closely the reports from different sources tend to coincide, though the wonder was lessened by the fact that the old legends shared at one time throughout the hill country furnish a morbidly vivid picture, which might well have colored the imaginations of all the witnesses concerned. It is my conclusion that such witnesses, in every case naive and simple backward folk, had glimpsed of battered and bloated bodies, Bodais of human beings or farm animals in the whirling currents, and had allowed a half-remarked, remembered folklore to vest these pitiful objects with fantastic attributes. The ancient folklore, while cloudy, evasive, and largely forgotten by the present generation, was of a highly singular character, and obviously reflected the influence of still earlier Indian tales. I knew it well, though I had never been in Vermont through the exceedingly rare monograph of Eli Davenport, which embraces material world obtained prior to 1839 among the oldest people of the state. This material, moreover, closely coincided with tales which I had personally heard from elderly rustics in the mountains of New Hampshire. Briefly summarized, it hinted at a hidden race of monstrous beings which lurked somewhere among the remoter hills, in the deeper woods of the highest peaks, and the dark valleys where streams trickled from unknown sources. These beings were seldom glimpsed, but evidences of their presence were reported by those who had ventured farther than usual up the slopes of certain mountains or into certain deep-sided gorges that even the wolves shunned. There were queer footprints or claw prints in the mud of brook margins and barren patches, and curious circles of stones, the grass around them worn away, which did not seem to have been placed or entirely shaped by nature. There were two certain caves of problematical depth in the sides of the hills, with mouths closed by boulders in a manner scarcely accidental, and more than an average quota of the queer prints leading both toward and away from them, if indeed the direction of these prints could be justly estimated. Worst of all, there were the things which adventurous people had seen very rarely in the twilight of the remotest valleys and the dense perpendicular woods above the limits of normal hill climbing. Not a broadcast today.
Not that. Somewhere else. Let's see. Whatever. Media player. Transmission video. Most popular. Better TV starts now in your city.